Well, hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite Rafael Tavares, or Written Rent Ralph. There to my other side, you have Nat, and of course, underneath we have CC. Let me fix that.
Hello. So you should be on top. There we go. That's better.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, something's wrong. Oh man, CC, it is so great to have you on. It's so great to see you. Like I said, we missed you at Urban Action. It didn't feel like Urban Action without having you there.
Oh, I really appreciate that. I really felt the void that weekend. I really did. And shout out to Demetrius Angelo for hitting 10 years. That's such a huge milestone.
Yeah.
And as you know, a fellow event planner and showrunner, that's something that I just greatly admire. And he does a very good job of like building a solid team, having a solid network, and just like really doing it up and not having any drama or any of that stuff. Just a really good event that is intimate in its setup and like kind of low key, but at the same time you're surrounded by some really awesome people who you normally would not have the chance to like interact with on such a close and personal level. So I really do appreciate that space. Shout out to Urban Action.
He was saying it at the award ceremony this year that he's lucky enough to have built a team of people, put together a group of people that that work well together, that move the projects forward, that make everything better. So he acknowledged how important that was.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that attitude reflects leadership, and he's a great leader and just an overall like really good guy, just a really good person. And he's from the DMV. He's from PG County, So yeah, shout out to the DMV.
Oh man, hey, it's funny you start off right off the bat here. You're bringing up all the fact that you're a showrunner, and we have a couple of showrunners on the show. And I always love to ask, putting a show together is not an easy thing, And we're talking about Dimitri and how he's putting his show together, and how you already wear 10,000 hats. How are you putting shows together?
I'm really just following Demetrius Angelo's lead and building a solid team of people I can trust, and just trusting the process, like taking all the wins and celebrating the wins with the team, but also the opportunities for growth and where we can do better. And that's in itself has been a very humbling experience for me, because I have to take a step back and be like, okay, well, we did great up until this point, but now what can we do to make it better the next time around? Because that's the point, right? The goal is to grow and become more solid, and to become a more what's the word I'm looking for? To become a more solid ground and space for people who really need it, who really need it. So.
And I'm seeing you doing that with a HBCUCon, because I remember how it started, and now I see where it is now, and I can see you're trying to bring it up and change it into something else.
Yeah, it's so wild. Like, even with all of the challenges, to think that we've come this far from it being an idea in my head it's just really something. It's a spiritual experience. I'm not even gonna lie. It's really tested my faith and my discipline, my fortitude, my resilience, all of that. There have been few things that have challenged me to the level of running my own business, especially when it comes to building a community, because it takes a community to build a community.
Yeah, it does.
Unless you got a lot of money where you can just pay people to do your bidding, you're kind of in a situation where you have this vision that, but once I put it out into the universe, it no longer just belongs to me. It's officially bigger than me now.
That's true.
So I have to take other people's, insight, with, I don't want to say with a grain of salt, but like you have to kind of use your discernment and figure out, okay, like, is this person like being a hater, or are they actually adding some real critical thought to, what we need to do moving forward. And sometimes it's a combination of those things. So yeah, it's a lot of nuance to navigate, managing personalities and people's needs and things like that. And just really want to shout out to my team who, have been kind of like my anchor and even giving me the space to just let me vent. Like, oh my God, y'all not gonna believe what happened today. Just having that space to do that. And we kind of like all laugh and share together has been very much like it's become a sacred space. It really has. And it's inspired by my sacred experience that I had when I was an undergrad, which I can talk a little bit more about, but I feel like I've been like talking a lot.
Well, that's the point, man. I feel like you're so used to being the host of the show. You go, wait, I need to. No. We're here because you're talking now.
But it's so funny because like I'm the same way. Where like I'm usually the one moderating panels. I'm usually the one asking all the questions. So.
Oh yeah. Well, anytime I'm on somebody else's show, I feel more relaxed. But at the same time, like I think I'm supposed to be doing something else.
Yeah, right. It's like, should I be queuing up questions from the audience or something? Like, what am I?
Don't worry. If things get stale, I'm the guy who asks the questions. Don't worry about that.
Okay, thank you, Nat. I appreciate that.
And he does every time. As you can see, he pops in and goes, "Okay."
Yeah. When necessary, I love it. We love a good Nat.
So I figured that's where it was coming from. Your experience with the university itself. So how did you go from that undergrad to now?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's only been like almost 15 years. Well, really, since that's really how long it's been since I've graduated, 2009. But essentially, I was so blessed to find my family at Bowie almost immediately. Outside of like pledging Delta, which was its own experience and process. But of course, you can't do that till you're at least a sophomore. So that happened my junior year in college. But literally freshman move in. I was going in with my dad, who was a campus police officer at the time. And there were these two guys, Marcus Brooks and David Hooker, who are my friends to this day. And, Marcus is actually part of our team, David as well. So I'm going to the dorm and moving my stuff in. And they're like, she seems like our kind of people. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was wearing a certain t-shirt or what gave me away. But they were like helping me move in. And I think at that point, they were also part of the Student Government Association. Right. So it was like they were trying to do their due diligence and help people out. So they're helping me set my stuff up and they see all the things that I'm putting in my room. And they're like, hey, you should come down to like our suite and hang out. Because all the dorm rooms were divided into suites. Right. And each suite had 5 rooms in it with 2 people in each room. And they all shared like a common bath area. Right. So I went down from my suite to theirs, which was literally like the floor beneath mine. And I knocked, much against my better judgment. College freshmen do not go to like some random guy's dorm who you don't know.
I was about to say, there's no courage there.
Yeah. That was definitely not the best move, but it turned out fine because I knocked on the door and literally I go into their room. Marcus and David had shared the room. And it was kind of like the epicenter of this mini con experience where like you walk in and it's monitors all over the walls. One person's watching anime over in this corner. Another person's playing Gran Turismo or Guitar Hero or Dance Dance Revolution in this corner. And it really just became like a safe space for us. And we could talk about anything. We could talk about our personal issues. We could talk about things that were happening in class or politics or our favorite TV shows, our favorite animes, favorite video games, all that type of stuff. And that experience really helped me through some of the toughest times in my young adult life. And when I began to navigate the corporate world and nonprofit organizations and subsequently the cosplay community and the geek community at large, I would often revert back to like, when was the the time where I felt like I could be my whole self, because as much as I love the geek community, I felt like so much of it involved catering to white male gaze, quite frankly. And there were aspects of like my identity as a Black woman that people were telling me didn't mesh well with the geek community. But as I was growing up, I lived in a world where like those two things were never mutually exclusive. In fact, they were daggone near one and the same. Quite, my parents went to HBCUs. My mom was heavy into sci-fi, watching the X-Files. My mom named me after Star Trek. She named me after Shauna Triskelion from the original series. My dad has always been big into like history, and particularly war history. He's also been big into Star Wars, loves Darth Vader because of the influence of James Earl Jones, and he went to Bowie State. My mom went to University of DC. My stepmom went to Grambling. So like it was always there. And when I kept hitting these roadblocks in the geek community because of where I sit in it as a Black person and as a Black woman in particular, I would often revert back to that experience,
right?
And how I felt like I needed to recreate that experience on a grand scale, so that other people like me wouldn't feel like they had to choose between their identity as a person of color and the fandoms that they love so much. So I subsequently created, the HBCU convention.
Mm-hmm.
And also the reason why I wanted to really hone in on that is because so often I've seen historically Black institutions kind of demonized or viewed as less than. Your degree's not worth as much, or your education isn't worth as much if you went to a HBCU, and that's just the furthest thing from the truth.
Right.
Howard University consistently wins debates against Harvard. Like their debate, they call it the HU debate. And every year, the forensics team from each institution, they debate each other, and Howard gives them a run for their money. So that was kind of essentially what I wanted to do, was take the narrative of HBCUs being one of the first, if not the first, institutionalized safe space for Black nerds, and really marginalized nerds as a whole. Because these PWIs had quotas for everybody. It wasn't just us. The Jewish community often sought refuge in HBCUs. The international, Latinx and indigenous people often sought refuge at HBCUs because PWIs just were not, the infrastructure for that just was not there. So I really wanted to take that legacy and lift it up in ways that folks perhaps had never imagined before. But to me, it wasn't even a question. Like, it really wasn't even a question.
I appreciate that, because when growing up, being a geek when I was a kid and being a geek now are two totally different things.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't a safe space to be a geek when I was a kid. Especially a Spanish kid who was a geek, or a Black kid who was a geek, because those didn't exist. It was more like, let's get together in the corner and we can geek out ourselves, but we gotta be careful because someone wants to beat us up.
Yeah. Facts.
Dude,
yeah, no,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what the Sweet 200 was. Like, it was our safe space to be ourselves, where we didn't have to worry about being judged or ridiculed, or or questioned in like our love for the culture,
exactly,
because of these unconventional things that we were taking part in, which really like have become, it's so wild how anime and nerd culture has become so mainstream now.
Dude,
it's surreal to watch it, but it's a beautiful thing. Like, this is what we wanted, right? We wanted everybody to see the beauty in this medium, in these comic books, and in these films that we see.
Exactly.
And now I think particularly with a lot of these things being brought to TV and the silver screen, that it makes it that much more palpable for folks. Even when I think about like Avatar and things like that. And there's a lot of and then another thing too is like the socio-political underpinnings of so many of the, like, even like when you think of any anime show, there's almost always some socio-political underpinning there. Marvel, definitely, you know.
Dude, that's what bugs me out, because then you have the people out there going, "Well, you're making the book so political." I'm like, they've always been political.
Right.
I'll give you this much. Before the story wasn't the politics, before the story was in there, but it was still in there.
Right. Yeah, like literally, especially when you think about comics in America, like they were literally invented to incite patriotism during the First and Second World Wars. So.
Yeah, I grew up with that stuff too. You know, you still, those are the old books we had when I was a kid. You enjoyed Captain America because Captain America meant something. It wasn't all this weird stuff that it became later on, but it was that pure stuff because we needed to come together and form as one.
Right. Like, yo, he's literally wearing the American flag as a uniform. How is this not political?
And that's what bugs me out there. He's like, how can you not say, especially Captain America? Captain America's always political.
Right.
His choices are political.
Yes, what he's doing his choices with Bucky. Like, come on, dude. Like.
And then it bugs me out because then I'm like, then I have friends who read X-Men, and I'm like, dude, you read X-Men. It's all about racism. It's all about being the odd man out, being the mutie, which is what they were called, muties. And and it's funny because when I was growing up, those are the books that I read that introduced racism in a way that I can understand. You know, it was like, you saw what the mutants were going through, and you saw how they were being treated, and I was like, wait a minute, this all feels familiar, this all looks familiar, and it was something that that left a bad taste in your mouth, because especially even now when I say mutie, it still feels like I'm saying something
like a slur.
Definitely, I'm like, you can tell I say it and I'm like, okay.
yeah, I'm gonna dial it back. No, that's hilarious. And I think that the hidden message also in that, and how like the mutants have like special powers which enable them to bestow certain gifts and do certain things that normal humans can't do, and how that gets twisted and politicized into fear mongering, right? And how that shows up in race relations and stuff. And it's like, I think about Serena Williams, and I think about all these talented actors or athletes. Shoot, there was just recently a case in Tennessee where I think a state official was trying to like penalize Tennessee State University because their enrollment had suddenly increased substantially. And he was just like, I just don't see why all of a sudden everybody wants to like, and she was just like, all of a sudden, you don't know why all of a sudden it's like
those words always bug me out, because it's what people go through automatically. It's like, my God, all of a sudden this guy came out of nowhere and he's a big music guy, and I'm like, no, he was working for years, and now he hit it.
Right. Now you see him.
Exactly.
Right.
It was like he came out of nowhere. He didn't pay his dues. I'm like, dude, who are you watching? Are you even paying attention to history here?
I mean, or even paying attention to the current events that would encourage folks to want to seek refuge at an institution like Tennessee State, as opposed to like Vanderbilt or some of and like Fisk, which is like Fisk University, which is in Nashville, Tennessee. The entire campus is surrounded by a brick wall. Like, there's a reason for that. And it was built so that no horse could leap the wall under any circumstances at any point around the campus. Why do you think that is? It's because the KKK was trying to infiltrate and burn down Fisk University. Exactly. So, there's so much history and like hidden legacy in the HBCU community that is really like cool. It's super heroic in a sense, and very much aligns with my love for nerd culture and all of the superheroes within it. So that it just made it like I said, it was like,
yeah,
duh,
like This stuff is in this. The reason you want to be a superhero is because you want to overcome. You want to be above what you're suffering through, what you're going through, or rise above, as the hero does. They rise to a different place. They help everybody rise to a different place. And I feel like we've all forgotten that. I think the anti-hero, as much as I love anti-heroes, has become too much of the norm instead of the hero, the heroic person who's trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah, it's like the anti-hero was supposed to be there to help us navigate nuance, right?
Exactly.
To help us learn how to navigate. Like there's not always a right, this is right and this is wrong. Like that's not how human nature and society works. But the problem is that a lot of the anti-heroes have become overly glorified as the heroes, and then that's when you hear narratives like Killmonger was right, or name whoever was right, and it's like, were they though?
Listen, Dante from Devil May Cry is always right. He's too edgy not to be wrong.
He's too edgy not to be wrong.
That's what
you better say he's right or he'll kill you.
So Izzy says, "What's up, guys? We got a lot of stuff from New Jersey Geek Alliance. That's because you are absolutely awesome."
Oh,
he agrees.
Thank
he goes,
you.
Not that people understood that.
Yeah.
And wait, of course, Blade has to come in.
Oh, that's my dude right there. That's my sensei.
And he says nobody pays attention until you make it.
Man, that's a whole sermon right there.
Exactly.
That's a whole.
And that's
sermon.
the truth, because it's like I've been writing for years and years and years and years, and I feel like if I hit it with the book or something, they're like, "Oh my God, he came out of nowhere," and then I look at all my stuff back here and go, "This is not nowhere."
Yeah. Like I've been writing. What you mean? I feel that. I really do.
God. Yeah, as creatives, we know this. That there's times where people don't see what we're creating because we're back behind the scenes creating. This is what we do. I've written stuff that probably will never see the light of day.
Right.
At least until I'm dead. Then after that, they can do whatever they want with it.
That is hilarious, yo. It reminds me of I just keep referring to Black Panther because it's the freshest thing in my head. But like Ryan Coogler, and people are like, oh, the things that people have to say about him and his directorship, and it's like, yo, like before Black Panther was Fruitvale Station, like, the
guy did other movies.
Right. And he's got a track record for being very intentional about doing movies that have a very important message and that uplift the most marginalized, and building a really good rapport with Michael B. Jordan in the process as well. And isn't he directing Creed also? Or he's directing Creed 2?
I think he's correct directing Creed, yeah.
He directed Creed 2, or he was part of the team of Creed 2. Am I tripping?
All right, we'll go check in. So
I know. I'm like going way off on the tangent.
Peace is like the Peace Man.
Oh, Peace! That's my dude. Hey, Peace.
Yeah, the Peace is in charge of the Jersey Geek Alliance.
That's what's up, yo. Peace be getting around, yo.
Peace is all over the place, man. That's what I like. Talk about hustling.
Yes,
Peace is a hustler.
Yes, yeah, he's true New York City hustler.
He's like
Jersey Alliance. We love it,
dude. Yeah, I like he set up this group, and I like putting stuff in there. I like because we're all geeks, and it's funny. I was going to ask you that because you feel like you are a geek. You came and give us your origin story, and it completely yells geek from the whole time. You know what I'm saying? And I know you go through this, especially as a woman. I know you go through the fact that guys go, geek.
Right.
Do you know about this? Or do you know?
Right,
that's where they like to go.
What Spawn's blood type,
Exactly. So I know it's been like a tough fight for you, and that's why I appreciate what you're doing, and trying to get the safe place for people to geek out.
I mean, overall, I really want people to understand that there's like levels to this.
Yeah. And
as much as like we have like jokes in our crew, like who's the biggest weeb or the biggest gamer. And it's that even amongst our group, it's like, no, you might like anime, but you don't know anime like James knows. And it's a level of respect that comes with it, you know. And even when it comes to like politics and history and things like that's kind of where I come in, and I like making those connections and really doing like critical analysis of you know, comic book and pop culture media with a socio-political context, because it's all up and through it, but we often don't get the space to like really dissect it in that way. And you know, me being like head first in nonprofit work and it too, I'm always in that mindset where art imitates life. It really does. And it's interesting to see how it like manifests not just in the mediums, but also in the community as a whole.
Oh, definitely. It's beautiful to see. We just came from Anime NYC, which was this weekend.
Oh yeah, how was
that?
It
was amazing. It was an incredible experience. And I like to say that Anime NYC feels it's a great anime convention because you feel the family. You know, you don't feel that gatekeeping. You don't feel that thing that happens. There's all these people from all over the world coming together in this convention, and it feels like, you know, you're there with family.
Listen, man, it's the last anime con in New York. Let us have one thing. That's all we fighting for. Comic-Con took and destroyed the last one. We keeping this one alive. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know that's right. And I love that. And that was like honestly what was so appealing and what drew me to my to recreate the Sweet Tooth, my experience in undergrad, to create the HBCU convention, because there was no like gatekeeping in that sense. Like if you had a pure and like genuine interest in the genre, like we're gonna teach you, you know, we'll teach you all the stuff. Like even to this day, my friends and I constantly talk and like, no, well, this is how it happened or whatever. And some of us are stronger in some areas versus others. And it's always kind of a beautiful thing because it's like getting a refresher course and geekdom. And I just love it. So I'm so grateful for that. And that was another thing. I wanted to like really create a space where people who were into it or curious about it, but necessarily haven't always felt like they had a safe place or space for them to indulge in it, to interact with folks who have been cosplaying for 15 years or, you know, like who are actually gamers in the industry, and perhaps even opening doors for the HBCU students in the community and creating pipelines to these careers. Because that's really what it's all about, is taking, you know, I feel like particularly for the Black community and POC in general, we invest so much of our time, our energy, and our hard-earned money into these mediums that we should get a return on our investment, not just in terms of like monetary, but also seeing ourselves represented in ways that is holistic and honors like our cultures and honors, you know, our heritage and like being able to see ourselves wielding superpowers. Like, okay, like this is how it feels. This feels great. Like, no wonder you feel like you could take over the world, you know?
Definitely.
If I had this many superheroes that look like me, you know, when I was a kid.
But it's funny because, you know, and a lot of people like to argue, but when the video of the young Black lady playing the Little Mermaid came out.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! You just saw all these little girls. Oh, it was amazing to watch. You know, them going, she looks like me. You know,
right?
And I'm like, how can you put that in a negative connotation? Look what they're going through. Look at that, the pride they feel when they're looking at this character on the screen. You know, and I feel like a lot of the times, you know, it's that feeling of they're seeing their characters as them. So they don't understand that because they've never not seen their characters as them. You know, there's always been representation for them. So I feel like in their minds they can't fathom what one is talking about, because they're like, oh, there's no big deal. What are you talking? Because that's how they react. They go, no big deal.
Well, not only that, but like, you know, this whole idea that like certain folklore is purely Eurocentric.
Oh yeah, that's stupid.
It's just totally hogwash. Like there are whole African deities that look like mermaids, like Yemaya. You know, the Yoruba god Yemaya literally is a half human and has 2 fish tails. Literally, it inspired the Starbucks logo, like legit. Look it up. But yeah, so and was gender non-conforming. So that whole aspect of like queer culture and how that's always been around in these in like predominantly African cultures or indigenous cultures, and just kind of really like making that connection. I was so happy that they gave her locks too. I thought that was so cool because I think that it looks so good on her. And the fact that the original Ariel, the woman who voiced the original the animated character, like put her stamp on it and stood in solidarity with her in spite of the blowback she was getting, was really profound. And I thought that was really cool too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I really don't understand like any of this upsetness. It doesn't make any sense. And as somebody who's studied mythology, and it's one of the things I've studied is mythology. A lot of the stuff that we have with mythology isn't what they think it is. It doesn't come from where they think it comes from. I feel like that's because their history is all here. Like, do you guys ever dig underneath to see what's going on? And technically speaking, from what I've been raised in understanding with mythology, most likely anybody from the sea would probably be blue,
right?
So I'm like, hey, you're both, they'll probably be blue. So why are you getting upset for them?
Right. At least if they were exposed to like air, like that's why I love I don't want to spoil the Black Panther film for anybody watching, but I loved how they did that with the Telecon, and how because our blood, same thing with us, like our blood vessels, how it's oxygenated, it turns red, but it's really not when it's running.
People don't know that though. When the blood inside here, it's blue.
Yeah.
As soon as it hits the oxygen, it turns red.
Yeah.
Well, at least the ones coming out from the other side.
Right. Fact.
Let's get a little technical.
Science, right?
Somebody's gonna be like, "Excuse me, Ralph. That's not completely true."
Right. Get my homie Marcus in here too because he works for pharmaceuticals, so he's constantly like course correcting me with biology.
Oh yeah. Oh, I get it all the time. I come off the show and right away I get a text from somebody and they go, "Ralph, according to the history," like no, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man, let's see. Peace is saying, all over you are a full-on cosplay rock star sister.
Oh, Peace, stop it. In my head, like, you make my head get any bigger.
My daughter got her a doll. Got her doll. I'm lost here.
My daughter got her a doll.
Okay. When she can talk and she loved it and said it looks like me, my heart went, okay, there we go. All right. That sounds really good.
Yes, I know.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's that everybody's like, oh my God, look at that.
Right. And then that's like the subsequent thing with the pop culture comes the merchandise and, the fashion and all these other things that really kind of like immortalize these characters and really seeing the children and how they respond. And it's like, they get to grow up having these superheroes that we didn't have. At least not on like the silver screen. We had like Static Shock and a lot of animated. Of course, Storm was like the one that girl. The one that we all
like, look at Storm.
Yeah, like she was OP. She was OP and she was like smart too. Exactly. Very graceful. Just for the most part, made sound decisions, unlike some of the other X-Men.
Well, then she ended up being the leader of the X-Men for a while, which people tend to forget. Yeah. And it was a reason why she ended up being the leader of the X-Men for a while.
Yeah.
It again, speaking of stories and the way things go, it flowed with the story. It flowed with what was going on.
Yep.
Scott lost his way and, Storm was there to pick all the pieces up.
Yep. And Scott and Storm were like part of the original before Logan got brought in or any of the other X-Men. Storm pretty much, had been around for a minute and was pretty much Professor X's like right hand and confidant in a lot of ways, especially with Magneto out of the picture because that was his BFF, Yeah,
and people forget that too, that they were friends at first and then became enemies. It's how it happens in real life. Sometimes you're good friends with somebody and then you become really powerful enemy.
Right. It's like that's the one thing that's keeping them from like not just full on destroying each other in the world with it. Is like, yeah, we used to be cool, you know.
Come on, man.
He was my dude. We grew up together in synagogue, you know.
Let's see. P says Storm had to take over. Definitely, he trained her. Oh my God, Peace is a card.
Yes, we love it.
Oh man. So let's speak a little bit about because we see how you're setting all this up, and now you're trying to get this Kickstarter going, to try to get some money together, because you're making a plan here, right?
I got a plan.
There you go. That's right.
Well, so essentially we're asking for about the same that we did for this year's event. And we're working, we'll have a pie chart in there soon that'll kind of like break down all the expenses. But to kind of put it like plainly, right here in the podcast, a good chunk of that is going to go towards the venue itself. About $9,000, give or take, is going to go towards our venue at Bowie State University. Not just the venue, but also staffing. So we have tech support and staging and housekeeping and security, parking, all these various things. And then a good chunk of the rest of it is like printing and marketing and, having food for the volunteers and actually fulfilling the Kickstarter rewards. So it's definitely it's a lot of moving parts. I mean, renting the stage for Yard Fest and paying the performers, paying the step teams, all those things to like kind of really make sure that everybody gets, that all of the boxes are checked. Right. And so that the people who are involved and who are putting in hard-earned time and labor are, compensated to the best of our ability. It really means a lot to us to be able to do that.
I don't think people realize how much work comes behind putting one of these conventions together, because they most people just go to the convention, right, and they see what happens at the convention, but they don't seem to understand that there takes so much work to put these things together. There's so much money that has to come into it. Not all the convention guys are greedy people. Some of them are just trying to put together a good con.
I mean, yeah, and it just like, even when I think about like the bigger cons like New York and Anime NYC, and it just having run like a smaller or up and coming convention with a little less than 600 people, and imagining that being like 10,000 or 100,000 is like, yo.
No, man. Woo.
I can't even fathom. Like, I know that we'll get to that point where we're like bigger than anything I could have ever fathomed. Right. But just to think about all the moving parts that goes into it, I have that much more a level of respect for people who put these things on, because you really do spend all year planning for one weekend. Yeah. And like living on a prayer that nothing terrible happens that you have to respond to, or nothing too terrible. Exactly. Like, because things happen, and the best thing you can do is prepare. Exactly. Be proactive and try to prepare to keep things, foreseeable things from happening. And then if something that's unforeseeable happens, you do your best to like put the fire out before it spreads, too far. Definitely. So, yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of people go, "Oh, how do they have the date already at the end of the convention?" I'm like, that's because they're already planning. Bruh. They may be planning, they may be finishing this year, and this year may be done, but there's a certain amount of planning that goes into the next year already during the current year, because you have to have that date for next year, because then a good way to get your crowd back is to let them know, well, next year the date is exactly. So there's a lot of planning that goes on.
Yeah, and you got to be able to ride off of that momentum.
Exactly.
Because once you lose it, it's hard to get it back. It really is.
Definitely. It completely is. Because then you got to figure out how to get the word to all those people that your convention is blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm like, no. Just use the momentum from that one. Let them know what's going on, because that's what you want to know. Sometimes you're at the end of New York Comic Con, and you go, "Oh, look, next year it's this weekend, not that weekend." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I can start planning."
Right, right. Yeah, and one thing, even like today, you like it as recent as the last like 24 hours, just emphasizing the importance of communicating with your audience and like keeping them updated on certain things, letting them know how you're making things better for the next year. And kind of like keeping them in the loop, quite frankly, because at the end of the day, people are coming, spending their hard-earned money and dedicating their time, their time off to coming to your event, and you want to really make it worth their while.
See, but that also goes to what we're saying, because if you're giving them a date, they can already start setting up. They can already start going, "Hey, it's there." They can actually section that time off,
right?
Because like you're saying, they got their own lives to live,
right?
And if you're springing stuff on them, they might not show up.
Exactly, especially if you want people to come from like out of state or
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you've been doing that with the HBCUCon, because I feel like you've gone from a small convention to a bigger convention now.
Oh man, it's so wild to like even say that. But I guess it is fair because we had a virtual event in 2021. And then, since I established HBCUCon in 2018, can't believe it's already been 4 years.
Yeah, I remember when you first started it, we were trying to make it out there, but we weren't able to. We were like,
Well, we were supposed to have our inaugural convention in 2020, and of course, that was crazy. But prior to that, we did a lot of pop-up events and panels and stuff. And that's something that I would strongly recommend to anyone who's trying to, build a community, is don't be afraid to start small. Don't be afraid to start small. And also don't fall victim to conflating excellence with perfection. That is so important. Like, not saying to be complacent and like ride the wave of mediocrity. That's because that's not good either.
No.
But don't harp so much on it being a perfect situation, because if you wait for a perfect situation, you might be waiting forever.
I always say the same thing. Perfect situations don't come. You may make something better, but perfect is not a standard that we can achieve.
Right. Facts.
We can make it good.
Right.
We can make it better.
Right. I can make it great. I can make it I can make it excellent.
Exactly. Well, that's not perfect.
Right. Exactly. It's not the same thing, but it doesn't make it bad.
No, it doesn't. And just because something has flaws doesn't mean that it's bad either. It just means that those flaws need to be worked on. Or sometimes the flaws are make it work.
Yeah, sometimes it's more of a quirk than a flaw,
Exactly. I feel like people are so stuck on perfection,
I agree.
And as creators, we know that, because that's the first thing we want to go to. It's like, it's not perfect.
Right.
Like, dude, if you're gonna keep writing this thing, the first thing, one of the first things you learn as a writer is stop. One day you gotta stop editing.
I know. It's like, I'll write something in 3 days or two days, and then I'll be editing it for a week or two.
Exactly.
It's not ready yet.
And I know it's the same thing with artists, because I've seen them do it, and I'll be like, "Oh my god, this looks fantastic," and the artist is like, "No, because you see here.
Shut. Sorry, kind of dusty here.
You see here, and here. That's not perfect." I'm like, "No, I don't see that."
Right, to the untrained eye, it's like a Picasso.
But our friend Shen, sometimes she's like that, but she does fantastic stuff, and I hope she's listening and hears that.
Yes, man, you're great.
Man, the amount of positivity she got at Anime NYC, and she just refused it. She really should listen to these advice. I know she's listening to the show because she's asking me how am I having good internet connection. So
call her out.
Oh, I will. But I'll do that later on in the video, because she has her Kickstarter of her own. But we'll do that later when we go through the list.
Yeah, shout out to her, man.
Peace is saying we are definitely so critical of ourselves. Yes, we
We
are.
are.
We totally are.
Yeah.
I find that the worst enemy we ever have is ourselves. Everybody else is just like side enemies, people, who aren't as important as the main enemy, which is us.
Yeah, and I think that a friend of mine had actually said that, like, don't let the perception of your naysayers shape your reality.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so important to have a really strong support system in and outside of your business to kind of keep you grounded. Not yes people, because you don't want people who are going to let you go off a cliff.
Exactly.
Like, that's not, I've explicitly told my team, like, please do not let me take us off a cliff. Like, please tell me if I'm doing something wrong. But at the same time, you want people who affirm you and who remind you that your presence and everything that makes you is important. And
that's important.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's so funny, like as a writer, especially, you'll give something to somebody and go, "Hey, tell me what you think," and you'll usually get that it was good.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that doesn't help me.
Right.
I appreciate it, but that doesn't help me.
Right. I feel that.
At least tell me to put a period somewhere. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Or tell me what's good about it, so I can, take that to the next level.
Which is funny that you say that, because that's also important too. Like, you can tell me it's good, but what's good about it?
Right. Right. Like, what did you like about it, or what was your that was like a common question we asked folks in our surveys, like, what was your favorite activity at the event, so that we know, okay, well, this is something that we definitely want to hold on to or invest more in, and then reevaluating the value of a certain of certain aspects of the event. And really honing in. That's one thing I also say to folks, if you're thinking about starting a convention or any organization, is you really want to hone in on what's going to separate what you're doing from what everybody else is doing.
That's a good point.
Like, how does HBCUCon separate itself, or distinguish itself rather, as a one-of-a-kind experience? And by honing in on the HBCU, and particularly the HBCU homecoming experience, and like using that as a catalyst to build community, has been really like the most inspiring, and even inspiring for our theme, a different world. A lot of people in my generation and Generation X have learned about HBCUs from a different world.
Exactly. That's where I learned from it, because I watched Different World. It was one of my favorite shows, and because I came right off of Cosby into a different world, and I was like, oh, cool, this is, because it was a different experience. It was something else, something that you weren't experiencing yourself. It was to see an aspect of something else that was brought to you in a better way than it usually is brought to you. Because one of the biggest arguments I used to have with my friends, and even in that time in the 80s, was they didn't consider Cosby a black show.
Interesting.
Because Cosby and this was black people telling me this. They were like, oh, we don't consider Cosby a black show because he's a lawyer, and he's a doctor and she's a lawyer. And I'm like, and what? I know a lot of people who are lawyers and doctors out there, so what's the problem? But I feel like part of that is because they're ingrained to see ourselves in a certain way.
I mean, internalized oppression is a real thing. And it's kind of like, not even gonna like hold you, it's kind of one of the most heartbreaking things to witness.
I've seen it a lot.
As a person. I mean, and I've been guilty of it. We've all been guilty of it on one level
definitely.
or another. Nobody's
I'm steaming on it right now. Let's go.
Yeah, like it's definitely like white supremacist patriarchy is literally the air that we breathe and the water that we're swimming in. So it's really difficult, dare I say impossible, to be fully immersed in that, and to not, like, you have to be very intentional about going against that grain. You have to be on a daily basis. Legit. So, you know, a lot of times, and we're not a monolith, you know, there are people who probably thought it was great when it came out, and there are people who were like, okay,
Oh
what
yeah,
is
it
this,
was
you
both
know?
sides of the coin.
Right.
You know, because I had friends who were like, this. I feel good. He's a doctor. She's a lawyer. They
Mm-hmm.
saw a possibility of becoming better, becoming
Exactly.
something else. And their family was a unit where they worked things out, they talked things through. At something else that you don't get to see much, especially on TV.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it makes the whole thing. I mean, you know, you can't discredit the influence and the legacy of the show, but the whole way that, you know, things had panned out, and
Exactly.
like it's just really sad, quite frankly. And that's again, the nuances, right? Like dissecting that, you know, like Bill Cosby himself did things that were not really integral or like in the best interest of women in particular.
Exactly.
But also understanding the cultural impact of the Cosby Show and A Different
Exactly.
World,
Yeah.
respectively. And not only that, but also like just taking the narrative and the meaning of A Different World and putting a whole new spin on it through the geek context,
Oh,
because
definitely.
yeah, this is the world that I grew up in.
Because even in a different world, you got from certain characters, you got that geek feeling,
Oh
and at
yeah.
that point, that was kind of brave because we couldn't be geeks at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was very bold in the topics of discussion that they covered.
Exactly. Hmm.
You know, like police brutality, you know, like conditions in Haiti, like everything in that show. And the way that they did it was so, but it's like these are the types of conversations that we have on HBCU campuses all the time. You know, especially in my line of work where or study when I was in sociology, like
Hmm.
we're constantly looking at society through a more Afrocentric lens, which is something that I really came to appreciate at, you know, having that experience for sure.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Sebastian is saying good point. He's also saying that Cosby showcased POC in a new light. It destroyed stereotypes, and I completely agree with you because it was something we were seeing ourselves in a way that we don't usually see ourselves in.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's the whole thing about it is like really, you know, having the diversity within our own identities to like where we're not just typecast as one thing, you
Exactly.
know, like having that holistic experience where like you can see the kid who's like struggling in a inner city neighborhood, you know, that
Hmm.
whole trope, but then you can also see, you know, the doctor and the lawyer
Exactly.
and the superhero from Wakanda, you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like we want it all. The vampires, the daywalkers.
Dude, yeah, because life, I tell people all the time, life is life. Everybody should be able to live.
Fact.
And I should be what I want to be. I shouldn't have any limitations on what I want to be just because you're saying that I can't be that. And I've always been a rebel, and so it's usually anything you tell me that I can't do or I can't be or I can't, I'm gonna go and do that.
Right. Facts. Yeah, you know, and a lot of us have that like defiant spirit. We're like, I'm gonna do it anyway. But also I the whole point of like kind of creating spaces like this or creating HBCUCon is to provide a safe haven for those so that they don't have to like constantly feel like they're ice skating uphill. You know what
Right.
I mean? It just makes things so much easier when you have a community to support you. It makes a
It
world
does.
of difference.
It does.
Mhm.
Anytime you have a group of people that actually are supporting you, it makes life much easier. Just like we like to say, especially here on the show, is you see the Kickstarters in front of you. You may not be able to pay some money into it, or maybe you can put $1 in. That's more than
Mhm.
enough, people.
Yeah.
Because if a lot of people put $1 into it, then that's a lot of money.
Mhm.
But at the same time, sharing is the most important thing with Kickstarters. You
Mhm.
guys need to share this thing as much as possible because even if you can't do something. Maybe that person you shared it with can do something.
Right.
But the more it's shared, the more eyes are on it, and the more people
Right.
can actually do something with it.
Right. And if you donate, like even if you do donate $1 or
Hmm.
$5, like Kickstarter is essentially a social media platform.
Yep.
So it has its own algorithm,
Hmm.
right?
It
So
helps.
Yeah, yeah. Every dollar, every share literally helps. It really does.
Especially
So
because
yeah.
Kickstarter is watching this, and as soon as they see that kind of interaction,
Mhm.
they start to favor
Yes, they
these
do.
Kickstarters. Yeah.
Yes, they do. Yep. Yep. For sure.
Let's see.
Mhm.
Sebastian is saying sharing is caring. Just share on Nerds in the
Oh,
Launchpad.
thank you, Sebastian. And the cool thing is too, I don't want to be remiss, is that you can actually one of several of our reward tiers, you can get a badge for next year. So you can
Exactly.
kind of like kill two birds with one stone. You're supporting the Kickstarter, but then you
I thought that
also
was a good idea.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, it's an easy deliverable because like, all right, the con is paid for. Here's
Hmm.
your badge, you know,
Exactly.
and your t-shirt.
Like you
So
don't have to worry about it. You're like, hey, oh
mhm.
my God, look at this. I can just do this. I
Yeah.
don't know. It just feels to me like if you're gonna buy the ticket anyway.
Right. Yeah, and you get more bang for your buck this way.
Exactly.
For sure. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
definitely. We've seen a lot. Well, that's a good question. What made you go the Kickstarter route? Because it's not usually the route people go with when it comes to other things other than I guess comics or
Like
whatever they're trying
yeah.
to sell. Yeah.
Well, it was a platform that because I know so many comic creators,
Mm.
it's a platform that I'm more familiar with. I like
Makes sense.
the
Okay.
reward aspect of it, you know, unlike GoFundMe or some other platforms, like you actually get something out of it, which I thought was very appealing. I mean, probably my least favorite thing about Kickstarter is that it's all or nothing. So that's like the biggest, you know, that whole bit. But I'd be willing to like look into other avenues like Indiegogo or something. But I think that providing an avenue where you're not only like contributing and helping make this project happen, but you actually get something back from it,
Exactly. Hmm.
um, makes me feel like less bad about asking people for money.
I gotta admit though, like at least with this, I don't know. It just feels to me like you're getting something more than you would get out of any other thing. Because if you're getting a ticket to go to the convention, that's already because those convention tickets can kill you.
I'm telling you. And then you
And the more
get
conventions
early.
we cover, the more I'm like, can you let us in this press? Because
Right. Facts, facts, facts. Right. And then by then it's like, nope, the deadline's passed. You missed it. Trust me, I know how it is.
oh yeah, believe me. Oh yeah, I know because it's the same thing. But
Yep.
dude, those tickets add up.
They do. They really do, especially when you think about over the course of a year. Like you could go to 5 cons the whole year and
Yeah,
easily rack up $500, you know, or
definitely.
1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, not including hotel or
Yeah, you're not even adding all that in. Like we've been planning to try to head off to San Diego because that's the dream everybody has. Go to San Diego Comic Con,
Mhm.
and it's a bigger thought process than people think it is because people go, "Oh, you get the tickets, blah blah blah," and then I go, "Well, that's half of it because if you don't got your hotel room or even somewhere to stay, now all this stuff, and then you got to fly out there or drive out there or take the train out there. That's a lot of money."
Yep. And then food is expensive, like especially if you're gonna get it inside the convention, you know, unless you feel like walking 3-4 blocks at a minimum from the convention, or if you're
Exactly.
lucky, there might be food trucks around, you know, but even then it adds up. Like literally every meal you're going out to eat unless you have like a room with a full kitchen or a kitchenette or something.
Exactly. It makes life a little easier, yeah.
Mhm.
And then Sebastian brings up the fact that when you're a vendor, it gets even worse because now you got to pay for your table, you got to
Yep.
pay your transportation, you got to pay your
Yep.
hotel, you got to pay. I don't
Yeah,
know how
for
you guys
real.
make money when you guys are going from convention to convention.
Yeah, you got to have a real solid plan because
Yeah,
if you don't and you keep coming out in the red, you'll find yourself bleeding money. And it's not a good feeling.
not at all, man. We
As they
know.
say in the gamer world, get good, scrub.
Right. Oh man.
Like
Um,
that.
listen, and them things add up too, especially if you're on Gran Turismo or something like that,
Oh
child.
yeah, they do.
Oh my
Dude,
god.
just going to the fighting tournaments is like,
Yeah, I believe it. I totally believe it. And even if you're like a competitive gamer, you have to like oftentimes pay a fee to compete, you know,
Exactly.
and hope that you come out on top or at least get your money back.
Any of those people that make money off of this thing, I go, man, you guys are great because I just can't see how you can do it.
It's
Seriously.
simple. They just stopped buying deodorant, so they just spend it on the
Stop.
ticket. That's why Smash Bros. Tournaments make money, but they smell horrible.
Yo.
Wow.
That was deep.
I can't even say he's wrong.
I know. That's like I can't. I have nothing. I got nothing. And that's
Dude.
rare.
Yeah, we've been in enough conventions to know that certain smells are in there.
But you can smell a gamer by the way on how they smell and what games they play.
Interesting.
Oh my
All right,
gosh.
go ahead.
What do you mean go ahead? That's the actual fact. You want me to list the different smells? You want me to list each smell for each game? Is that what you want?
I mean, sure, go for it since we're already down this rabbit hole.
All right, if you smell the cheddar Doritos and Mountain Dew, odds are they play COD. And if they wear cologne, odds are they probably have a quote unquote relationship, but in reality, they just go to their house in order to play COD because they can't afford their own Wi-Fi.
Stop it. Yo.
Wow.
What do Smash Brothers people smell like?
Ooh.
They smell like year-old BO that's covered in clothing that hasn't been washed in 8 days, and you can still see the stains on the side.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Yo, don't nobody go harder on nerds than other nerds. Like we are the worst to each other.
That's because we hang out with each other.
We do. We know each other. Like I know you. You think the darkness is your ally. Like
I've done it before. I've been hanging out with some friends playing D&D and going, dude, when's the last time you took a bath?
Oh my god.
D&D people are special because they don't just smell like sweat. They smell like sweat mixed with something else, depending on where you find them. If they're in the city, odds are it's like sweat and a little bit of garbage. If you find them a little out in the country, it's like sweat and dirt, but not like the good sort of working dirt. It's like dirt that was left under the basement. Yeah.
I did not condone any of this, y'all. I'm just letting y'all. I understand it, but I don't condone it.
The funny thing is that somebody's out there going, damn, I can't even argue with them.
Right. I just like, HBCUCon thinks gamers smell like outside. I was like, no.
Oh my god.
There's a reason why actually the beginning of this year's meme was go outside and touch grass.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Grass is good for you, you know?
Yeah, breathe the air. Go outside.
Thoughts and prayers.
Go LARPing. There you go. LARPing's better.
Okay, yeah,
LARPing's better. Those are the same people who play D&D. It's just now they smell like ruined weeds. Sweat and ruined weeds. I don't know what you want, Ralph.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. You gotta love that.
Yes.
So CC, let everybody know where they can find you, all the good stuff that you need to let them know so they can help you with getting this accomplished, funded.
Oh my gosh. First of all, let me just say this was so much fun, and my heart is full, and I'm sad I couldn't make Urban Action Showcase, but I feel a little bit better.
Yeah, it just feels like now we have that conversation that we usually have there.
Yes, right. You know, like we made up for lost time now, so now I can sleep well tonight. But you can find our project if you go to Kickstarter.com. and just search HBCUCon. That's 2 words. First word is HBCU for Historically Black Colleges and Universities. And the second word is CON, C-O-N. That's short for convention. You'll probably see the 2022 Kickstarter pop up as well. Feel free to check it out if you like. But the 2023 one is where we need your help. We need your shares. We need all of your support and love. And we promise to take every dollar, every cent will be put into loving you back. We promise you that. And don't forget to follow us on all of our platforms at HBCUCon or at HBCU Convention. And also check out our website, www.hbcucon.org. And you can actually go there now if you want to be a panelist, if you want to be a vendor. Also check out our Kickstarter tiers because we have some packages for like vendors and Artist Alley as well. But feel free to like go ahead and apply for your press passes. Go ahead and apply for that panel. Shoot us an email if you want to be more involved. You know, we're here, and we can't wait to bring you guys another awesome event.
Well, that's cool. So it's good to know that you're actually accepting help, or you're looking for the community to come in and do its thing. You know,
Absolutely,
because it's important. It's every con needs the people to come in and be a part of it.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't want, you know, anything other than that. Like, it's not for me to just be like, all right, you do this, you do, you know, like, I want it to be something that the whole community can be proud of. That really is what drives me to keep going in this stuff, even when things get tough. Mm-hmm.
So there you have it, folks. Do us all a favor, even if you can't support, or if you're putting in $1 or whatever you're doing, make sure to share this as much as possible, because I can't emphasize enough how important sharing is, especially to Kickstarters. I know it sounds weird that, you know, that sharing can do anything, but sharing really does put this in so many eyes and other people that can actually put more money into it. And I can't. It's just an interesting thing, because I've seen it before where if something gets spread enough, a lot of stuff starts to happen.
Absolutely. Catches like wildfire, man.
Dude, the best way to raise or go up is to raise each other up. We all rise together, and that's the best way to go, because, you know, if you're helping me, I'm helping you, then we're all coming up at the same time.
I know that's right. You couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much for this. This has been a much needed exhale for me. And I'm just so grateful for all of you at Bit and Apple TV for the amount of support that you guys have poured out to me personally and to HBCUCon. Pretty much since I met y'all in 2019 or something, or 2018.
I think before, yeah,
2018. Oh my gosh!
Yep, that's what it was. BurrowCon. You were helping somebody by hosting their questions and stuff. And that's where we
right. Yo, man, yeah, it's been a long time coming, but yeah, I just want to shout you guys out. I love y'all so much, I really do. Shout out to Kama, shout out to Les Faye. You know, I can't emphasize enough how much your support means to us. It means the world.
Well, we appreciate you, and that's why I've been chasing you for a while to get you on the show. Because I already know how great of a geek you are. And I knew that it would be fun just to geek out, and and you saw some of that today, folks. You know, we were all geeking out with all that stuff. We went from one end of the spectrum to another.
We definitely did.
Back to where we need to be.
We definitely did. We were all over the place in the best way.
But that's the fun of being geeks, you know, and that's why I like the whole idea that you're saying, this geek space, because one of the things that geeks like to do is geek out. And have these conversations, you know, and not fights. Have these conversations. Have these thoughts, or just enjoy each other's company, or just enjoy our fandoms.
Absolutely. Couldn't say it better myself.
And that's what we like to do here on the Bit and Apple, is we like to make you feel like you're at the convention, talking across the table, because that's one of the most fun things to do.
I know that's right. Shout out to all the podcasters out there, man. Because y'all are the ones who really like keep us going and lift us up, for sure. It takes a village.
And CC, you're welcome anytime to come on, whether you want to guest host, whether you want to tell us something. You're more than welcome. Just let me know.
Absolutely. I'll definitely keep you posted next time I come up that way, for sure. And anytime you guys are in the DMV, definitely shout me a holler, and I'll make time for y'all.
Oh, definitely. We're gonna see if we can make it to HBCUCon. It all depends on which drivers or what we have, but I'm gonna see if I can make it happen.
Yeah, keep me posted. I'll roll out the red carpet for y'all.
Sure. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Nathaniel, do you got anything to say?
Oh boy, you got them all, or should I just?
Well, tell me where to start.
All right. Well. I believe our dearest friend and newest Applebite, Jordan Hagar, would be remiss if I did not mention, go subscribe to Hagar's Horribles for his picks of the Kickstarters, because that's pretty much most of our list at the current moment as well. Source Point Press, has a
they
Kickstarter
have
going on.
their Kickstarter right now with, of course, the Dirk Manning wrestling comic book of
Oh
Arn
wow.
Anderson. And he's doing pretty well right now. He's at
Wow, yeah.
22,074. He's already trying to figure out how many stretch goals he can have for you guys. So you want to go with those stretch goals because Dirk Manning likes to make sure that you guys get taken care of. And the more stretch goals you guys crack, the more stuff you get.
I
And
love
the
the
more
art.
stretch goals that are achieved, the happier Jordan is. And when Jordan's happy, Derek's happy.
Exactly. His Kickstarter is at 22,074, 390 backers, 24 days to go. And if you love wrestling and you grew up with wrestling, then you want to have Arn Anderson's life story.
Nice.
And of course, Dirk Manning, the fabulous writer that he is writing it, and the art on it is not too shabby.
Yeah, I love it. It's very
Right.
comic-esque.
Oh, dude, yeah, it looks good. It has like a wrestling feel to it. It has a comic book feel to it.
Yeah, and like graphic novel too, like a little graphic novel in there. I love it.
All right, Nat, what's next?
All right, next up, let's see. Oh, that's not a Kickstarter. SourcePoint is also having a Black Friday special.
Oh snap!
Oh yeah, they're having that special Christmas special where if you buy one, I forgot what book it is. If you buy one of their big books, you get some extra books for free.
Oh nice.
Yes.
And they're also doing that thing where if they're doing a bundle where you can get a bunch of books for free, and all you have to do is pay for the shipping and handling. So get over to SourcePoint Press and check out these specials that we're talking about here. All you gotta do is hit SourcePoint Press. Go to SourcePoint Press. You'll see all of the stuff we're talking about.
Nice.
Then there's also the Good Boy Kickstarter. Basically, take. Yeah. I mean, that's like half the list. I don't know what you expect from me. Basically, think John Wick, but instead of the dog dying, it's the human. And the dog goes on a path of revenge.
Stop it! It's like the dog version of that game, Stray.
Yeah.
It's like really, that game is like so much more popular than people anticipated it would be.
Oh, definitely.
I love that.
Stray is the game we wanted.
Yeah.
But
didn't want to admit.
Exactly.
And let's. No, there should be. I know there's one more that I'm getting
from SourcePoint.
It's either SourcePoint or someone associated with SourcePoint.
Well, I'll put this one up. You can talk about it.
Which one?
Ooh,
so this is our good friend Shanique, aka Floofschmallow, on her first Kickstarter in collaboration with Bitsy Tandem, who does know Derek Manning.
Nice.
There's our connection. So, this is Shen's first Kickstarter. She worked really hard on it. There are 9 Evolution pins, each crossed with Genshin Impact. They are trying to reach the lofty goal of 8K in order to reach another stretch goal. The character that will be merged is still secret, even though I kind of know it. But you should listen, there's things you know when you help work on things. So
you gotta do your best to keep it a secret.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
These are really cool.
Yeah, Shen did a good job of putting them together, and Bitsy did a good job of putting her part together. This Kickstarter is pretty sound. If you love pins, these are the pins to get.
The Meltion one is so cute.
Dude, yeah, this is what we keep talking about. This is one of the hardest ones you had to do, right?
This was the one where she did it on the time crunch. Remember, she had not stopped working on this for 6 months, and last weekend was her first weekend not actually working on art. Except she did her cosplay because she had to go to Anime NYC.
Bless her heart. Well, shout out to her, and I hope she makes that 8K stretch goal.
Exactly. This is pretty good. I love pins. Of course, Bitsy's art is fantastic as well. The more you support, the more things you get. So, that's a good thing. If you get all 9 pins, you get this little beautiful piece right here for free.
Ooh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also get any version of the pins as a cute little plush. Ralph, if you just scroll down just a bit right after this. I mean, there is the sticker sheet included.
That's the sticker page that she's also giving. So if you can't afford the pins, you can get the sticker page.
Nice.
Or you could just buy 7 pins and you get the sticker page.
That's true.
There's the plush right there. So you can get any of the pins as a plush, like a little pillow plushie.
That's adorable.
Help you hold it at night.
We all need some comfort.
We all know that we're so lonely that we need something to hold because nothing will hold us.
Oh my god.
So anyways, just support this wonderful Kickstarter.
Like back to Kickstarter. Get out of my feelings.
Listen, I was way too deep in my feelings at the convention.
I understand. It's been a lot these past.
It's not that I haven't been in a convention in a while. It's that I had a print like tear up on me like 3 times.
Oh no!
Yeah, he had terrible luck with that print.
Oh no!
And then the same thing with my autograph.
You got a nice little autograph from a certain fake creator, and it was all dented up.
Oh no! We'll have to get you like a little carrying case or something for your merch.
That's what we need to get them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that. That's where it was in.
Still.
Oh my god, that's even worse.
Oh no!
All right,
you guys
folks.
gotta come down to MagFest if you get a chance. MagFest has some really good merch, low key.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, folks. I can't leave without mentioning our pal Sigma Comics and their Kickstarter. Here Comes Calico, where you support 2 things. You support an indie creator who's doing his thing, and the money goes to animals because we're fighting animal abuse with this book. Nice. And if you love Punisher, our friend here, Calico, does the same thing that Punisher does to bad people that do bad things to animals. And he's a Dominican hero.
Nice.
Which, I personally like because, I'm Dominican.
Right. Nice. I mean, that's far too specific for you to know.
Dude, I'm like, I have to support this. I feel like somebody's going, ¿Qué pasó? ¿Por qué no
Claro que sí, mijo.
Exactly. So, dudes, do yourself a favor, do animals a favor, support this comic. The money goes to a good cause. They are at $2,553. Their funding goal is $3,000. They're 147 backers, 5 days to go, dude. And the good thing about the Calico book here is that if you pay $20, there's I think they're on issue 6. If you pay $20, you get all 6 issues.
Nice. That's a steal.
That's a steal and a half.
Yeah.
And then one book doesn't even cost that much.
Yeah, for real.
So go check it out. The money goes to a good cause, and at the same time, you're supporting a great indie creator.
Yeah. I love it.
And I guess the last thing I need to say here, let's see, there's one last Kickstarter. It is our pal Phil and his group of artists at Legendary Illustrators, and they are doing the special Kickstarter for these art books for the artists that are under the employment of Legendary Illustrations. And these things are fantastic. They're beautiful. If you love your art books, this is a good book. Well, good books to get. This is 7 different artists with 7 different books. And so this art is just amazing. I have no words for it. I know you guys know that Tragedy is a fantastic book, but look, here we go with Will Pladen. Beautiful piece.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the cover to his book.
Nice.
And you have Ricardo Silva, who does fantastic.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that sketch. Mm-hmm.
And here we come with Kenny Calderon.
Oh wow.
Yeah, these books, you get a whole book full of art from each individual artist.
Oh, I love that samurai art.
Oh, look at this thing. Oh, these things are just beautiful. That's Rob Rodolfo.
Yeah.
Here's our pal Rob Powers, the Def Shogun. We all love some Pinguino's Revenge, and dude, you guys, you've seen his work with the crossover characters. Do yourself a favor, get his book. And of course, Carlos
Nice.
Ramos. Look at that. Look at that Spider-Man.
Yeah, I love it. I
So
love
there
a
you
good.
have it. These are all beautiful artists working on to showcase their stuff. If you love art, you love artists, this is a place to go support them. They are at, let's see, let's go back to the top here. They are at
3,900.
Nice.
3,930. So they're funded.
Nice.
57 backers, 23 hours to go. So if you miss it, you miss it.
Let's hope they get to the 4K before the 23 hours is up.
I think that's what they're trying to do, is get to the 4K. That doesn't seem to be that far away. Come on,
Right?
folks. Let's get them farther than that. And just so you guys know, remember, just because a Kickstarter has funded doesn't mean that the people doing the Kickstarter have enough funds to do what they need to do. Sometimes you need to help them double their money or triple their money so they can do what needs to be done or get the books out there. And you guys got to know that nobody makes money off of Kickstarters. They are to help fund whatever needs to be funded. And most of these artists will put all that money back into the projects so you can get more books or more products or more of what you want.
Yep. Absolutely. That's what it is. And that was honestly like our biggest thing, with the Kickstarter that we're doing is like 16K is not enough to, but it's enough to give us what we need so that with the tables and with the, the other accruement that we get from badges and stuff that we could pay all of our bills. And also having to take into account like, okay, we have a certain amount of time to raise a certain amount of money. And what's a feasible number that we could make in that amount of time? And it's really like doing a balancing act with this stuff. So shout out to all of those Kickstarter folks and who those who have already exceeded their goals. It's just really cool to see the level of creativity that goes into these projects. I love it.
It always amazes me when you see these Kickstarters because they usually outdo each other, outdo themselves.
Yeah.
And it's anytime you support a Kickstarter, you get something that you're not going to get outside of the Kickstarter usually. Not all the time, but usually when you support a Kickstarter, that version of the book is different than what they're going to sell to the public. Not all the time, folks, but usually as a collector, I know that's always enticing to get something that's not going to be out to the public. I know with Dirk Manning, it's always the case because Dirk will make the Kickstarter book a certain way, and then the regular book will be a whole other way. So when you get the Dirk Manning Kickstarter, it's always a special
right.
Yeah,
love
and
it.
It's always something good to do, and it's always like a nice nod to the people helping you out with your Kickstarters.
Right, of course, absolutely.
And you're right though, because we work with enough showrunners to know that 16,000 is not much money for a show.
I'm telling you. Like you think it sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. I'm not gonna like discount how much money it is. Like, but in the convention world,
no,
it's very minimal.
Yeah.
It's like the minimum that we could have asked for to pull it off, quite frankly. As much as I would love to be able to pull $16,000 out of, nowhere. That's just not the reality that most of us creators are living in. So it means a lot to have the support of the community and to know that people care that much about your project that they put their hard-earned money to seeing it come to life.
And that's the other thing. Sometimes you want to support certain things because you believe in those things. And Kickstarter is a good way to go.
Absolutely.
Like our friend Sebastian was waiting for the Ralph plush.
Aw, Sebastian. They are cute. Like I'm having a hard time because I already got like 5 in my bed. I'm looking right now. Like I
have so many plushes. It's not funny. So
yeah. Well, good. We're not alone then.
Exactly.
Yay.
Well, as nerds,
I don't know. That Jolteon plush might look good, right, with your collection, right?
You're right. He looks so cute. He looks like an angry little shonen warrior.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did I mention he's an Oni?
Oh no.
I love it so much.
All right, folks. There you have it. Thank you for showing up and geeking up with us. We took a bite out of things and helped you understand or share them with you and how they taste. Now, do the thing. Take a bite yourself.
I know that's right.
With
take a bite of yourself.
Exactly. Go take a bite yourself. You
Of
know,
yourself.
don't make me bite you.
No, this is the bit now. This is the bit until you hit